Welcome back, Dominators. Due to frequently requests in form of comments below the last video, I decided to produce the video also in English. And here we are. The video is about variation or an adaptation to the command strategy I was using most frequently and until now only. So first with upgrade, by a need for new crowns, and Nexus seems to be pretty stingy actually currently with crowns, so we are nearly not getting them from anywhere, or they also limited the time quests. I had to do one of the last offers I had to get to the Dynasty League for 2000 more crowns, and while upgrading to the Dynasty League, but also and primarily in correspondence with a friend of mine, Myzelo. So at this point, greetings to him. We thought about not reinventing, but variating from the commander strategy I was used until now. And yeah, so that I don't bore you, let me show you some attack videos in the background so that you don't have to stare at my base while I'm talking to you. My most known, or the strategy I was used to, you can see in the background. So first, pre-rallying some commandos to specific buildings in the very center of the base, using Blitzkrieg to get most of, if possible all, defender spawning buildings disabled, then getting all of the commandos right around out so that they are circling the base, and afterwards prolonging the disabling from Blitzkrieg with sabotages, which I'm laying precisely between the buildings to get most of them shut down. And afterwards the commandos are doing their work, while troops to tidy up right around the base are getting most of the 50% hit points from economic buildings and others with high hit points. Now actually in World Wars that method most often due to unexpected troops in these strongholds, but also but less frequent town center defenders. Those attacks struggled and even failed in my case, and that was pretty frustrating and frustrating to accept. And therefore Myzelo was actually the first player I saw to play in some kind of hybrid strategy. Recently, in the last week, I saw an older video of Stepmaster, who seems also to use, or has used, probably, I don't know if he's still doing commandos in his attack, but he is using them all only with decoy, and I'm definitely not a fan of decoy. Of only decoy and decoy in general, if we are talking about command attacks. Let me first explain why. Now, if we are talking about attacking high bases, there are some components or some variables in this equation which make higher bases pretty much harder to attack. The generals, the amount of troops which can be donated, especially most obviously defensive buildings and spawning units from the upgraded buildings, but also walls and traps. So mostly probably walls and traps. Now if we are talking about a commando attack, traps, if the commandos are entering the base first without any other troops to trigger the traps are completely worthless against commandos. And if the gates in the walls have some kind of function and are not placed and located randomly, mostly even the walls are not as a problem to commandos. So 2 out of a list of very important variables in this equation why higher bases are harder to beat are not that important to commando attacks, and that's why I like them. Now if we are using decoy, we are triggering most obviously all traps which are in range of the decoy, and triggered traps, especially barbed wire we are talking now about here, are harmful to commandos afterwards. So if you are really initially using your decoy and opening up some barbed wires, all commandos later on in the attack will be slowed down. And yeah, you obviously understood what I meant with this. Now Stepmaster seemed to use a lot of decoys in his video. I did not use decoys for that purpose at all, but now I saw Myzelo's attack, and in Myzelo's attack he used a pretty early decoy, and to get all of the troops out and to spoil or to get an overview which or even whether there are troops in the stronghold, what troops are in the town center. You get the generals down, and afterwards you can afterwards you can gets those troops out from the base. And so the first wave, the first spawning wave, which is actually the very fast spawning wave, especially if you unlocked Hold the Gates, is already out. And the second, third, and all following waves are pretty much slower than those waves, and the commandos have more time to get in the base and get their damage done. A little sideways info. I recognized that in my last videos when I have the sound activated, even at the lowest stage, it is that loud that some of the sounds are even higher or louder than my voice, and I'm not that good understandable, therefore I turned the sound off. Actually, here we have the attack style, the new attack style, or the hybrid attack style between my old how I was used to attack, and how the new attack strategy looks like. To trigger nearly all traps, no, not traps, to trigger all troops from especially generals and other defenders from the base, then get them away from the base by locating mercenaries as well as generals. My generals are pretty low level compared to other players I recognize now, so it's a really hard time for me. And then afterwards, when the first spawning wave has done, you can get your commandos in. You have pretty much more time for blitzkrieg, you have more time for sabotages, and even if you do some mistakes and are not fast enough, the waves are spawning even at higher players that much slower that you have some time to recorrect or correct some of your mistakes. Yeah, and pretty much that's all about. If you don't have high level airplanes or even strong artifacts for your planes, if you don't have space age mercenaries, so these overstrong over tank destroyer whatevers, and if you don't have high level generals, this attack strategy is quite not recommendable to you, due to the fact that the spawn you are tearing out from the base with your mercenaries and your generals pretty much can easily turn around and immediately go for your commandos if some of these deception troops, so general and mercenaries, is getting killed. Yeah, and therefore it is some kind of gambling. Sometimes it works pretty good, other times it's completely horrific. But I mean, if you have decided for the command strategy, you already have taken the risky option or alternative. So we should make ourselves clear that attacking with commandos always is some kind of bargain. Now, hopefully this episode was interesting for you. We will see us soon. Your domination tips.